The one time that I've had a very personal confrontation with censorship was at a festival in Louisiana. It was, I believe, about 3 or 4 months before Hurricane Katrina. So the Louisiana people were still very much in love with George Bush, and the war hadn't gotten so sour that the tide hadn't really turned against Bush. And me and my band, the Mammals, had been playing a song called The Bush Boys. We'd been playing it since 2001, because when we saw the outrage that was the election of November 2000, we decided enough was enough. We had to write a song about it. And the song goes, "Listen up, folks, the votes are in. It was anyone's guess who'd win. The Democrats had the higher amount, but they lost 'cause Florida could not count." And it went on like that, And we played a whole set, about an hour, for a bunch of dancing people out in the streets of Louisiana. And we knew where we were. We weren't trying to push the political envelope. But at the end of our set, these people really loved us, and we got called back for an encore. And so we had a quick little band huddle, and we decided to sing the Bush Boys, our big kind of anti-Bush protest song at the time. And it was like watching the Red Sea part. I mean, we nearly caused a riot. It was pretty... In retrospect, I wish we hadn't done it almost, because I don't like polarizing a crowd. I don't feel that it really gets you anywhere to bring up these kind of black and white issues and force people to confront them at a concert, necessarily. Sometimes it's okay to make people confront unpleasant truths. But in this case, I think it was too hard. And the festival received death threats, wanted to know where the Mammals were staying. And the next day at breakfast, they came to us and they said, "You can't sing that song again." And we kind of smiled and said, "Well, we weren't going to. But you can't say that." So now we've got a problem. And next thing you know, for our set that day, we crafted every offensive song we could think of. We sang about murder, suicide, incest, rape, drug addiction, alcoholism. But the only thing we didn't sing about was politics. And all of these so-called objectionable topics were fine. So at the end of that festival, we said, this is ridiculous. What country do we live in that people are going to tell us what we can and can't sing, and the only things that they'll find objectionable is the political material, because they don't want to deal with that. They don't want to have to confront the essential contradiction of their lives. It's one thing to look back in history and think, well, Lincoln's freed the slaves, and I'll bet that was a very controversial issue in its time. Or Martin Luther King was battling for civil rights, and while, yeah, that was an important thing, that was then and this is now. And we thought, we can't let this stand, so we wrote to the paper. We told a reporter about it. And the upshot of it was that it caused a 2-month editorial battle between people who felt that censorship in America was for the birds and people who felt that we were unpatriotic and should have kept our damn mouths shut. And so I think the one positive side effect of all that was this conversation that occurred in the editorial section of the paper. But the sad fact is that we'll never get asked back to that festival. They know now that I'm a dangerous musician and that I can't be trusted on a stage. Which is sad, because you shouldn't book musicians based on their political sensibility. You should book musicians, I think, based on their ability to perform, play their instruments, sing, but mostly entertain a crowd, because that's what musicians' main job is. Doesn't matter if they're political, apolitical, whatever. Nobody's going to sit around for 3 hours and listen to a musician, or if they're not entertaining. And so we were doing that. We were entertaining people, and we were doing a damn good job of it, but it didn't matter. And so I worry anytime I come in contact with that sort of thing. It makes me very, especially in America, where supposedly our entire way of life is predicated on freedom of speech, freedom of thought, freedom of lifestyle. But you run into these situations where I don't like your lifestyle because you're gay, so you have to get out of the neighborhood. I don't like your speech because we disagree politically, so you have to get out of this neighborhood. I don't like your thoughts. Well, how do you know my thoughts? And I think this is where we get into some very, 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 very hot water. So we have to watch out for these things.